Partnership for Children Private Unrestricted Fund. JoAnne's going to talk a little bit more about Walmart community grants in a moment, but I'll jump over to North Carolina Community Foundation. This is a wonderful resource, particularly for programs that you might want to implement. Most counties or groups of counties have a local community foundation. Robeson County has its own community foundation. That application is very straightforward and not horribly time consuming to complete. So that's definitely a funding source that you would want to look into. There are some regional grants that are very specific in what they will fund and to offer more cash than a typical community foundation could offer. Your local arts council is a great resource, particularly for children's activities. And we were truly fortunate in that we already had a relationship with our local arts council. Through the years, we've done a couple of small grassroots grant applications and received grassroots North Carolina Arts grassroots grants. And we'd work together with our local arts council to create, we brought the arts council together with children from child care facilities to do oil pastels, which were later hung in a local skilled care facility and our local hospital. So those were some things that we were able to do to promote the relationship with the Arts Council. And this year during the pandemic, when we weren't sure how we were going to keep Exploration Station open, because of that relationship, we were able to apply for a North Carolina Arts Council Arts Cares grant and received over $30,000 in that grant to help further our cause with Exploration Station. And they allowed us to use it for general operating, which was absolutely amazing. I hope people can't see me. I'm putting my glasses on. All right. Grants.gov is a different animal altogether. Government grants are a great resource if you have an idea of what's coming down the pike. To be honest, the amount of time between a grant going live and the due date is probably not enough time to finish a federal grant. You have to go to grants.gov and see what's coming. And it's also not the kind of thing that you can find a grant for that's going to fit, or that you can create a program that's going to fit their grant. It's something that you need to be working in tandem with to get a federal grant. They estimate it takes about 40 hours of actual research and putting numbers into the application to complete a grant. So it's a great resource, but something that's not to be taken lightly. JoAnne, would you talk about the Walmart community grants?
Be happy to. So Walmart has a great opportunity in their community grant process. It's fairly simple and straightforward, and you can actually, we applied for ours for Exploration Station, and the process goes through cyber grants. So you'll need to create a cyber grant account, and the process through which cyber grants uses is called Front Door. So you'll log in through your Front Door cyber grants account and then complete. It's a very simple, straightforward application process. We were able to apply for a total of 6 grants. We have 4 local stores in Robeson County and 2 distribution centers that are considered in our district. And all of those facilities have an internal review process. So if I apply for a grant from the St. Paul's Walmart, they will actually review it at the store level and then send it and refer it for funds at the corporate level. From that step, it's a really quick process, and we received a check, I think, within just a week or two from that particular store. I will say that with the Walmart grants, you need to use the telephone or personal contacts within that store because you want to be the squeaky wheel. They get a lot of grant applications, so it is competitive, but they are able to make that decision at the store level. So you do have the opportunity for contact, and it does help. And then the other grant process that I wanted to talk about is United Way. My history before the partnership was with United Way. And so I have a lot of experience in their grant application process. The United Way community investment grants are done usually on an annual basis. Sometimes the funding is for 2 years. Most United Ways focus on 3 or 4 areas of funding, and that's health, education, financial stability, and basic needs. Some United Ways will have one of those focus areas will be stronger than the others, but usually funding children's programming is an important part of their investment in communities. It is good to develop a relationship with your United Way executive director so that you can be made aware of when those funding applications open, and we'll know about the process and also support their efforts in the community. A lot of times they're a good partner in being out and being seen and participating in volunteer efforts and things like that so that you have some exposure. And so I think we're ready to move on to.
Need to speak for just a moment about KB Reynolds.
I'm sorry.
As I filled out the request for proposal, one of the topics that was important and is a priority here at Robeson County Partnership for Children is equity, particularly when it comes to the different races and socioeconomic classes that are in Robeson County and across our state. KB Reynolds offers some wonderful opportunities to discover, the magnitude of disparity that may or may not exist in your community, and will assist in ways to help bring equity, particularly in the areas of healthcare and housing and equal pay for equal work. We're hopeful to begin work with KB Reynolds on some data research that will lead us in a direction, hopefully we're hoping to help child care providers in Robeson County be able to increase what they pay teachers, center directors, those folks that are on the front lines trying to offer our youngest citizens better education and have them more well prepared for public school. So that's a great resource.
Okay.
Now we can go to the next slide.
Okay. So, well, actually, let's not put the next slide up.
Okay.
Quite yet. Can we just have maybe if you can just put me on the screen, Sarah. Okay. There we go. So I wanted to talk with you just a little bit before we go to our next slide. In the sources for non-Smart Start funding, we talked about direct mail. So I wanted to touch on just some basics with direct mail. For those of you who aren't familiar with using direct mail, one of the key reasons that you would want to do it is to, of course, save money. If you're not familiar with the bulk mail process, there's a lot of good information on the U.S. Postal Service website. And the rule of thumb is 200 pieces or 50 pounds it will be at an advantage for you to use those bulk mail rates. To do that, you have to establish an account. and you'll need to pay an annual fee and then make sure that you have money in your account to cover the postage for any bulk mail items that you send. We use bulk mail for our year-end mailing, our year-end appeal. We used it for postcards for our virtual fundraiser auction. We did about 500 pieces, so there was definitely a savings there. And then we, of course, use individual mail too, just regular standard snail mail for things like thank yous, maybe smaller mailings that we do to major donor prospects. Okay, so one of the forms that we use of bulk mail is our donor newsletter. So now we can go to that next slide. Sarah, do we have that slide that has donor newsletter?
Yes, 1 second.
Sorry. Okay, there we go. All right, so the donor newsletter was something that we wanted to, especially with the pandemic, we wanted to make sure that our donors had an opportunity to see what was going on with the partnership, to discover ways that they might be able to plug in and take part in what's going on, and just really keep in touch with them, kind of stay, you know, in the front of their mind in terms of organizations that they're supporting and organizations where they can see what their support means. So our donor newsletter is a quarterly publication. We did it in-house, just on 11 by 17 paper, folded over like a little newspaper. And it started out, we had some things that I think will continue to keep in ours. One is a letter from our executive director, and her message was just kind of, you know, just a very personal, genuine note that also had an ask in it. You know, can you keep partnering with us? Can you help us out? One of the other things that we felt like it was important to include are some numbers. And we did it in two ways. We did just some straight numbers, you know, how many children we served within the museum, how many families we served at our Smart Start drive-by day, how many members we had. Let's see, I can't. But anyway, it's just kind of some numbers that
we highlighted the NC Pre-K and NCPC initiatives to get
right.
devices into the hands of children and families so that they could do remote learning. And that was one of the highlights you did.
And that's what you see on the right. That was an article about what we did with technology that NC Pre-K funding provided, and then our staff was able to distribute that. So it kind of gave folks just a glimpse into what was happening at the partnership and how we were helping children during the pandemic. Some other things that you might consider are maybe an impact story that actually has a personal story from a parent or family member or even a child. You might highlight a new program, maybe a need that you have that's coming up. You can do a frequently asked questions page, or did you know kind of page. Talk about new partnerships. We're good partners with our children's library, which is right across the street. And we assist each other a lot. So sometimes that's, you know, a good thing for folks to know. Or you could do a donor spotlight and maybe allow your donor to do a testimonial and say firsthand why they support the partnership or your organization. So let's see. We also mentioned, so that was the other thing that we did was our year-end appeal. And just to give you a little bit of information about that, our year-end appeal was a one-page letter. And then we included a donation card with a return envelope. With our donor newsletter, in terms of a direct mail piece, there is, as I mentioned, an ask from Jessica, our executive director, in her letter in the front. But then we also included a separate page that had a picture of our donor banner for 2020 and invited people to become a part of our donor banner for 2021. So that was a one-page ask, and then they could mail that in with a donation. Let's see, so we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so I'm going to introduce this, and then I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about it, because I don't want you to have to look at a slide for too long. But virtual events. So this year, or during my tenure, because going chronologically, we've had 2 virtual events, and one, as we mentioned, was an online auction. This was held over a 4-day period. It was a simple silent auction format. And this was a pivot from our live auction event that we traditionally held. And the second virtual event that we have ongoing right now is our Beautiful Baby contest. And this is a lot of fun. It's something that's been done historically for quite a while. So what I'm going to do is share with you, we'll take this slide down and I'll share some information about the online auction. So this year, when I started in August, of course, with the pandemic and everything shutting down in March, wouldn't you know it, that our live auction was to happen March 21st, I think was the date. So about 2 weeks prior to the live auction, plans were made to scuttle the live event. And we had wonderful donations that were here in-house. So when I started in August, that was my first task, was to create a virtual event. So we already had a relationship with Greater Giving, who is the platform that we use for used for our live events, for ticketing. You can do, even meal placement, keep all of your records, plan the event through the portal. And we found out that they had an online bidding component that we could add to the account that we already had. So I was able to kind of get up to speed fairly quickly. The format is pretty simple. And we moved that live event to an online event totally. As I said, we stayed with a pretty simple format, but you can add video, you can do live auction within the virtual event. There's a lot of flexibility there. One of the biggest keys, I think, in doing anything virtually these days is publicity. So we did a lot of heavy publicity. We started out with a newspaper article kickoff, and we have a really good relationship with our newspaper. So that's key to develop. If you don't really have a friend there, work on that, because they can really make a big difference in terms of the publicity for your events and just letting people know what's going on with the partnership. We did emails to our constituents, our donors, our previous participants in our live auction events, and we did lots and lots of social media. We used Facebook. We don't have a big Instagram presence, but you could certainly use Instagram too. And then, as I mentioned in talking about direct mail, we did some postcards too for kind of a save the date and here's how to register for the auction. Some of the advantages with the auction, we were able to garner $13,500 in sponsorships. And I think that really helped because people saw the virtual auction as a means to get in front of more people. Bidders really liked the format. I think they liked, particularly since it was the pandemic, it was safer to stay in and take part in a fundraiser from their home. And they found it really easy to use, and they didn't have to get all dressed up and hire a babysitter. So that was an appeal. One of the things that's kind of fun is, as you're a bidder, you get to have outbid notices. So if I bid on a package and then say Tim outbids me, I get a little notice that says, now the bidding is at $500. Do you want to place another bid? So it kept the pace lively, and I think people really had fun with that. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest advantages is really twofold. Because it's virtual, you don't have the outlay of meals decorations, prepping a venue, renting a venue, hiring an auctioneer. All of that overhead is taken away, and that's great. The other thing that's a real savings is on your team. It takes really, once you've gathered the auction items, it only takes one person to manage that auction. So we were able to, we had lots of folks that were out gathering the donated items, but then I was pretty much able to run the auction from there afterwards. At the end of the auction, people are notified if they won items. We send out emails in terms of, letting them know how to get their items, and then we can print receipts through the system, do reporting, all kinds of things. And Matt will probably touch on that too. We also have the next thing that's running right now is the Beautiful Baby contest. And Tim can tell you a little bit about that historically, because this is my first beautiful baby. Actually, I had 4.
She has
I have four beautiful babies.
But none of them qualify for the calendar because we can only have babies 5 and under. Well, your granddaughter qualifies.
That's true.
Very true. We've started another generation of beautiful babies. But Beautiful Baby contest predates my time at the Partnership for Children. And when I came on board, we did not accept online bids or online giving because we didn't have a platform to do that really. My second year with Beautiful Baby, let me back up and tell you what Beautiful Baby is and does. People are encouraged to go through the Robisonian, our local newspaper, and register their children to compete in our annual Beautiful Baby contest. And from that contest, we choose 12 children who are our Beautiful Baby calendar babies. And they become our calendar babies by getting the most $1 a piece votes. There's a prince and a princess crowned every year. And through the years, our donations have really transitioned from mostly in person to mostly online. We did not do Beautiful Baby for the calendar year of 2020. So it just was not possible during the pandemic. But so we're really excited to be doing it again this year. It's an opportunity for the entire staff, especially since we weren't able to do a live auction this year. The entire staff, without really taking a lot of their work time, can participate in recruiting babies to be in the calendar, and even doing fundraising for those babies that they recruit to be in the calendar. This year, I think we have more staff children in the contest than I ever recall, either staff children or staff nieces and nephews. We currently have, well, I'm not going to steal JoAnne's thunder. She can talk about that. But Beautiful Baby has been very successful for us, partially because we develop relationships with the parents of these children. Can I hold up the calendar?
Yes, please do.
This is the last calendar that we produced.
No,
Is it?
not going to let you show it.
It's not going to let me show it. It's disappeared.
It doesn't like it.
Let's see if I can. We have pictures all over the partnership of previous.
No.
There they are. Maybe previous children who have been in the calendar, and that's beautiful. We the first live auction that I went to try and figure out how to do our live auction was in Chatham County, and the auction was in a very rustic venue. but there were pictures of children everywhere, and that transformed a very rough and rugged type venue into a place where I was inspired to bid in order to help the children of Chatham County. The pictures in our partnership tell our story, and they're there because we were able to take pictures of these wonderful children in Robeson County for the last 11 or 12 years. JoAnne, talk about what our calendar is doing now.
Sure. So kind of the nuts and bolts of Beautiful Baby. It's about a 3-month, 2.5 to 3 month process. And we start in April. We do a call for babies. We do lots of publicity. The newspaper does an article, and the newspaper is actually a sponsor of the contest. We put it on social media. We do lots of word of mouth. We reach out to our daycare centers, and we actually invite them to sponsor a baby. And if they do a fundraiser at their center, then we allow them to keep 50% of those funds. We then close the bidding. Our entries actually close this Wednesday, and the babies will appear in the paper on Mother's Day weekend. And then the voting process starts. So the votes go on for about a month. Each vote is $1, and they can bring dollars by the office here. They can do that online. And so the competition is to see who can raise the most votes or dollars. And then that'll close about mid-June, and we will publish the winners in the Father's Day edition. As Tim mentioned, there's prizes for each child at different levels. The winner gets a trophy or a tiara or a crown, a trophy, a parade magnet so they can ride in parades and be publicized as the Beautiful Baby. Then they get $100 in cash. And then we do the calendar. We start working on that in the summer, because remember, those top 12 babies are going to be in our calendar. So it's important to have a relationship with a photographer, because you'll have a professional photographer do their photos. And then a graphic design person who can design your calendar, put the babies in, capture information. We do Smart Start information in ours, and then that calendar will come out in the fall. So I think the keys to success, really, it's a very straightforward system, is just to make the registration as simple as you can. Simple questions, fill it out on the newspaper. We didn't this year charge an entry fee. We have 21 babies that are entered so far. And for us, this has always been kind of a no contact fundraiser, but it really can be totally without contact. The only contact we perceive this time is going to be having people bring in money to the office, but that can be done by appointment, and we have a receptionist. Our building is closed, but we can make arrangements to do that with keeping social distancing and masking in place. So it's a great, easy fundraiser. And to learn a little bit more about our online bidding process and our relationship with Greater Giving, thought you all might like to learn about what they can do for your fundraising events and how the online bidding process works for a virtual auction. So Sarah, if you can put up that next slide. I want to introduce Matt Craven.
Hello, everyone.
There we go. Matt is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Greater Giving. And I think he's actually in North Carolina this week.
It's South Carolina. So
in South Carolina. Okay.
Yeah, but I will be heading to Wilmington later this week. So I'm very excited. I'm local. I'm definitely local this week.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. So I can do a screen share. It looks like it's, there we go. Okay. So what I'll do is pop up some slides that I have here. And I will probably do that thing where I say, can everyone see my slide?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So now let me move this part of the screen over so I can see it. So yeah, so Greater Giving, what you're looking at right there, the online auction that was just described, most of the people that were bidding on it were probably looking at a screen like that on their mobile phone. And who knows where they were? They could have been on their couch. They could have been at the supermarket. They could have been anywhere bidding and participating in the auction. So talk a little bit about Greater Giving. I always like to share with people who Greater Giving is. We were founded in 2002. So for almost 20 years now, we've provided event solutions exclusively to nonprofits and schools. I've been fortunate enough to be with the company for about 17 years, so really since its inception. Our solutions have supported over 120,000 benefit auctions. This is even a little bit dated. I think the number is probably closer to 200,000 benefit auction galas, golf tournaments, virtual events now, obviously, for over 12,000 organizations and schools across the country. And mostly what I always like to share with people is we're just really proud. We're based in Portland, Oregon, and we're just extremely proud to be a provider for the nonprofit fundraising, event-based software, providing technologies to organizations. If any of you have ever been to a JDRF, American Cancer, American Heart, March of Dimes, those are our big national clients. Closer to home in North Carolina, the V Foundation, Jim Valvano, the former coach at North Carolina State, his foundation that does a huge ESPN virtual event. They're one of our great clients in the state of North Carolina, Charlotte Food and Wine Festival. But really a vast majority of the organizations that we work with day to day are regional, county level, just doing amazing work in their community. I always love to say that, especially when it comes to on-site auctions, you can find Greater Giving at the Naples Wine Auction being used, which is the largest nonprofit auction in the country. And some of those same people probably have used our solutions at an elementary school auction that's happening in a gymnasium somewhere as well. So some of the solutions we provide, we have an incredible suite. The management software. So we're a fundraising platform that also has an embedded management software. That's wonderful for all of you because part of your jobs are to be out there fundraising, having the technologies that help you drive the fundraising, but at the same and send the messaging, but at the same time, you need to be able to manage that information. So we have an event-based auction virtual software, cloud-based software that manages all the details of your fundraising events. For on-site events, we have an express payment kind of point of sale, point of donation system called GoTime that's in our suite. You can create mini sites. So instead of having to have an IT administrator create donation pages, registration pages for any event, you can create a mini site through our system, link that button to your website, and you can get registrations, you can highlight items, you can highlight the story of what you're doing. You can obviously post your items to bid. And then of course, now online and virtual bidding. For our virtual and online bidding, it's wonderful. Guests can bid from any device. So if you're having an online auction or an online or virtual fundraiser, your guests can be on their PC, on their MacBook Pro, they can be on an iPad, they can be on their mobile phone. So any device. Sponsorship is huge. And so you're always gonna be able to fundraise through items, through donations, telling your story, but sponsors are also a big part of this. And so our virtual and online bidding really kind of allows you to showcase sponsors, both as banner sponsors, in line, kind of as you scroll through items, you can have sponsors pop up, just like if you're on social media as well. So great sponsor value adds, great ability to do kind of platinum, gold, silver level sponsors. For our online events, you can have bidding, you can have embedded video, or you can have live feed, or both. So some organizations are still using an auctioneer virtually. Now that we're moving further and further into a world of being on site again, there's the ability to do hybrid events where you can have people on site. You can also have an auctioneer on site. You can have that streaming to people at home. And then you can also have embedded video, which is just wonderful for executive directors, for people that are impacting your organization to be able to tell their story. Those that have benefited from your services can tell their story. So you can really kind of create an amazing virtual on-site or hybrid experience through Greater Giving. In today's world, we also suggest that you have items to bid, items to buy, and then that there's other areas in our software where you can tell a story of something that's specific that you're fundraising for, and people can just hit the donate button, but they are allowed to read about that program. So instead of just saying donate $50, $100, they can really kind of click, and instead of clicking on an item, they can read about the experience of where their money's going. You can have different options for them to give in that way. So we tell everyone now, bid, buy, and the areas and the sections that you want to be able to have on your virtual or on-site event. You can do a fund a need in the room via the phone, hybrid. People can get a text. That text will send them a link that will allow them to give it a number of different levels that you've selected or custom. They can see the thermometer on their phone. Their name will flash, and you can, if they're at home on their PC or even if they're on their phone, it will pin that content. So if someone's doing a live broadcast of that, they can be recognized or they can be kind of following along. There'll be leaderboards. So whether you're on site or doing a virtual event, there's also a section on where people are going to be able to see a leaderboard. If they're giving through that fund a cause, they're going to be able to see their name pop up. They're going to be able to see all the fundraising. You're going to have a lot of motion in that thermometer. You're going to be able to customize your colors, your logos, and obviously even more sponsor value. So just a great way for sponsor value to recognize those donating to the cause, to create a number of different ways to give, and just to give a great visual as well of how much money you're raising. Again, we have the management software. So if you're doing a number of different fundraising events, this will give you all the information you need. We obviously can transfer information in and out a lot of donor management systems, Excel, etc. But this will show you for all of your virtual or on-site events, you'll be able to view who is going, who is bidding, a countdown to whatever event it is, how many items you have, if you're having an auction. And then this is where you also can build, use the web builder to build your site. Very easy to do item management and load great photos or use photos from our library. You can do thank you letters. So everyone that donates, you can thank them. Every sponsor, you can thank them. Everyone working on behalf of your organization, your volunteers, there's customizable letters. So you can send out email or mail merge thank yous to those soliciting items, those donating items, those working and volunteering. You can do bid sheets if you want to be on site with bid sheets. You can do placards for your event if you're going on site, and then incredible amount of reporting. So whether virtual, on site, hybrid, whatever you're doing, you're going to be able to see who ordered what meal if it's on site, who bid on what items, what category of items were the most popular. So just an incredible amount of data to be able to customize reports that you want. If you're on site, you can see who's at what table. That's a very popular one. And like I said, another really popular one is to find out how people are donating, what items and what types of items are the most popular. Our support is amazing. Software is as I always say. And you know, for those of us that use it, it's not our primary job. It's something that enables us to do our job. As such, we have an incredible support team based in Portland, Oregon. Most of our staff are former fundraisers that were clients that have come to work for Greater Giving, a lot of tenure. So the night of your virtual or live event, you have 24-hour support. We do support via phone, email, online chat. I always say people learn a lot of different ways. So we have live trainings, we have video trainings, and you can also obviously always just call our team. A number of best practice videos and a help center. We're definitely a thought leader in the industry, so we have an incredible amount of downloadable fundraising guides on our website. And I'll let you know 3 ways that you can really be in touch to find out more. One is on our site. There's an incredible ebook that we did in partnership with 26 of our best auctioneer, event planning, and fundraising partners across the country. It's 26 revenue enhancers for any type of live or virtual event, on-site event, golf tournament that you're doing. On the far right, we also have text to donate. So if you text, and I can send it to anyone, if you text demo to 366-283, you could do that right now, and you can see how the text to donate function works in our software. So if you text demo to 366-283, you'll be able to see a demo of just how a basic text to donate works as well. But most importantly, if you email me at mcraven@greatergiving.com, I will send you a link to our free fundraising ebook. I'll send you the text to donate number in case you didn't write it down, and I'll send you an email to do a mock auction. So you could actually go on and mock bid against others across the country, others on this call today. So you can really see if you were to do a virtual event, what does that look like? What does the bidding look like? How do you get the responses when you're outbid and things of that nature? And if you go to greatergiving.com, we have an incredible amount of resources. But please do email me. I will send you a link to a number of great resources, more information about how to utilize our products. I'll tell you that one thing we did last year at the beginning of COVID is we really completely restructured our pricing. And it's been overwhelming with the amount of organizations in the last year that have signed on. So we're making that permanent pricing. And it makes us accessible for any organization having any type of event. On top of that, all of you that email me today, you'll have a special Smart Start discount as well. It'll be close to over 30% off. We normally have our software, but most importantly, we'd love to meet you, share our information with you, talk about your fundraiser, and find out if there's a way our technology can help you, or if a fundraiser we have, fundraising guide we have can help you, or if there's a partner in the area that could help you out with what you're doing. And so thank you very much. And I'd be more than happy, obviously, to answer any questions.
Thank you, Matt.
You bet. And I will.
If we could have the screen back.
Oh, yep, there you go. Sorry, that took me a second. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, is it time for questions?
I think it's time for questions. So do any of our participants today have general questions for Tim or I, or for Matt? We will be happy to answer anything or head you in the right direction.
So Genevieve asked a question in the chat of how Greater Giving is different from eTapestry.
Okay, Greater Giving is a platform that's available for eTapestry wouldn't work very well for an auction. Greater Giving is extremely flexible. In fact, Matt, we have developed a square peg and a round hole method to use Greater Giving for our Beautiful Baby contest. Each baby is a package, and parents can, and there's a picture of the baby or the young child, and people can go to Greater Giving and bid just as if though they were bidding in the auction. It really has worked well, and that is though some folks do bid through PayPal, which is also on our website, and in person. The last 2 years, the vast majority of the money for Beautiful Baby has come through Greater Giving. I'm not sure eTapestry has a portal for donations. Sometimes eTapestry and I aren't the greatest of friends, but I don't think there's a direct donation portal in eTapestry either. It was a good question.
You can get online donations through eTapestry. We happen to use Greater Giving. That was there before I came on and before eTapestry, and I haven't changed it. And also our experience with Greater Giving, all that data that you have in the end, it transfers right into whatever donor software you use. So it will you can transfer all of that Greater Giving donor information into your eTapestry. So you get better overall reporting and aren't piecing together reports from different software packages.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
Tim and JoAnne, I would just like to add, this is Jessica from the Partnership for Children. Great job, as always. But I did want to just talk about the county and the city funding. And so we get an allocation from the city and the county for the partnership in general, which is basically for private unrestricted funds, and then for Exploration Station, which is the Children's Museum. And if you're interested in looking into local funding through your county or your city, the best way to do that is through those wonderful relationships that we have through Smart Start with the makeup of our board. We always have had a lot of support on our board from the local city of Lumberton as well as the county. And basically in Robeson County, they work really close together and they like to match the gifts of each other. So you can start with the county managers or the city managers, or you can start directly with your commissioners or your city council representatives to see if they would be interested in that for your local partnership or your organization. So for example, with the Children's Museum allocation, the city agreed to give us $12,500 and the county agrees to match that $12,500. And that relationship has been ongoing for years. And they tend to do that so that the nonprofits can get, you know, additional funding, but it's not just coming from one pot of money. So that might be a really good strategy to use in your community if you're interested in local support for your nonprofit.
Thank you, Jessica. Any other questions?
How many calendars do you make, and what price do you sell them at?
We make 500 calendars and we do not sell them. We give them away. We give, of course, as many calendars to each parent as they would like, you know, within reason. We try and keep it to 10 calendars per parent. And then we give them away to whomever.
And Sharon, there are also educational calendars. And so we do include education into the calendars. There is a way that you can use Smart Start funding for educational calendars. We do not. We do use our private funding for that. And if that is something that you're interested in, you know, I would recommend that you speak with the finance department if you're not the finance department at your agency. But you know, you can use Smart Start funding for educational purposes related to that. So that's a good way to get such a fundraiser started as long as you follow Smart Start cost principles.
Any other questions?
And Tim, I'm just going to add one more thing
Please
because
do.
I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get off this call and I'm going to get 20 emails with this question. And it's going to be, how do you fund a full-time and a part-time fund development staff member? And that was, I've been at the partnership for 13 years, and that was something that took 13 years of strategy. So it's something that you have to commit to as an organization and a board. And we started low with contract, and then we moved to one part-time, and then we moved to one full-time, and now we're up to one full-time and also part-time. And part of their salary is paid for with private funds. I think the part-time JoAnne is mostly paid for with private funds, and Tim is a split of private funds. He also does some community education. Obviously, fundraising is a lot of community education. And we also own our facility in Lumberton. And so we get rental income because we have tenants, and that also offsets some of the salary. So it is a blended funding formula. And if you want details about that more, you can message me and I will get that information to you.
All right, thank you, Sarah. What's our status?
Well, I'll make one last call. If there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or to pop off mute and you can ask that. And while y'all are thinking, I'll give a few short announcements that the link for today's survey has been posted in the chat. Marcia has been in there posting, and she will post it again in a few minutes. You can also access that off the conference website. And then I also want to remind you guys that our sponsors session, our first one for today, starts at 11:45 and is an opportunity to enter our grand prize raffle if you attend all the sponsor sessions. We had a fun one yesterday with Steve Spangler doing science experiments, so check that out later this morning. And I would thank both JoAnne and Tim and Matt for sharing their expertise today, and Jessica too, because she has quite a bit to share as well. So you share in that credit, Jessica, but thank you for sharing your information. And I'll make one last call for questions. Well, thank you all. Thank you, JoAnne and Tim again. And thanks all of our attendees, and we'll see you again, hopefully at 11:45.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.